promotion tends to reward loyalty, even sycophants, if you like, over scrutiny and political curiosity. And this, I think, diminishes the quality of the MP who is promoted into government, and that cannot be good for British politics.
Alongside the King's New Year's Honours List, Liz Truss released her nominations. She's recognised one ally for every 4 days she was in power, and unsurprisingly, it's been met with some criticism. Let's speak to Tobias Ellwood, who is the Conservative MP for Bournemouth East. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Your thoughts on the list?
Well, firstly, can I just congratulate those who received recognition for what they've done in Britain. It's a curiously British beautiful tradition, I think, a way of thanking so many of the unsung heroes from all walks of life who are not usually in the public eye. Really pleased to learn that you'll be speaking to Tony Hudgill. He's this double amputee who's pictured on many of the front pages. His efforts are truly inspirational, and I think that's what the New Year's Honours List is all about. Jill Gladwell, who aged 97, awarded the MBE. She's been a poppy appeal collector for more than 80 years. I think this summarises what the New Year's Honours List is all about. But we do have this curiosity in our system that has long allowed the departing Prime Minister to recommend a resignation honours list, which is coming under scrutiny today, a way for those departing Prime Ministers to express gratitude for whether they be on the front line or behind the scenes for their time. But it never factored in the fact that we've had occupants in number 10 for such a short spell, nor the fiasco of sitting MPs being offered peerages, which we saw last year. And that's brought the entire convention of political patronage under far greater scrutiny. I don't think it's for me to comment on any of the individual names, but the public do expect and deserve to see fairness. And at a time when the trust in British politics, and indeed the political system, is not at its strongest, we should concede that the optics here don't look good. I would like to see a cross-party agreement, guidelines, if you like, that the total numbers of nominations are a ratio of the years served. That, I think, would now be in order. And I think we also need to look at appointments to the Lords itself, because that does change the complexion, the makeup of the House of Lords. It's right for prime ministers and the government to place appointments. David Cameron is an example of that, but these are working peers. So I think this does need to be scrutinised. It's now become unwieldy. It's almost 800 in size, one of the largest revising chambers in the world, well overdue for reform.
When you talk about a ratio of years served, should it go one step further and say, actually, if you've been in power less than, for example, 3 years, you just don't get a resignation honours list?
Well, I think that's for a cross-party, guidelines to be created to perhaps debate this as to work out what we should do. As I say, this isn't something that we've ever really had to confront before, simply because we didn't have the churn of prime ministers, nor prime ministers usually lasting such a short period of time. I hope we don't repeat that. I'm really pleased that there is a sense of stability that's come under, the current prime minister. But the whole issue of patronage, I think, goes a bit further than this as well. Our political honours, are they there to recognise, work for the party, for Parliament, or for the nation as a public servant? If it's to the party alone, then this does alter the culture in which Parliament itself actually operates. The political patronage, including promotion, tends to reward loyalty, even sycophants, if you like, over scrutiny and political curiosity. And this, I think, diminishes the quality of the MP who is promoted into government, and that cannot be good for British politics. I think, thankfully, that started to change under Rishi Sunak, but it should not be the case that personal political values are filled, if you like, in order to become a minister.
While you're with us, I want to turn our attention to the situation in Gaza. We've been reporting this morning that South Africa has submitted a case at the International Court of Justice accusing Israel of engaging in genocidal acts in Gaza. Do you think that the UK government should be putting more pressure on the Israeli government to protect civilians in Gaza?
2023 was a bad year for Western-led global order, if you like. We had two big conflicts that came onto the scene, in addition to all the other chaos around the world. Gaza, as you mentioned, and of course Ukraine as well. I'm pleased what Britain is doing behind the scenes. I mentioned the appointment of David Cameron but we do well with the back channels to try and get UN resolutions, to try and get parties to agree. But it actually shows the limits, the threshold, if you like, of Western influence in today's day and age, which is diminishing, that we don't have greater control over where this is going. It is escalating. The Houthis are now almost controlling the Red Sea, if you like. A more confident, less risk-averse West would actually target the missile sites and destroy the Houthi threat rather than sending ships to protect the vessels, the shipping through the Red Sea. And likewise with the in Ukraine as well. This now rumbles on into another year. The West promised to do all that it could to support Ukraine, and credit where credit's due. The UK has been true to its word. But we see the US is about to withdraw its funding. Putin's forces have not been pushed back. He's survived the sanctions and is now waiting for the US elections in expectation that wider support for Ukraine will then collapse. And Putin will see this as a victory. He's gained territory. He remains in power, and he will then be given the freedom to regroup, rearm, and try again in a few years' time. It all signals, I'm afraid, to the demise in Western, in American influence, something our competitors, China, Russia, Iran, will seek to exploit. I think 2024 is going to be a testing year for global order, but many countries, including the UK and indeed America, will be distracted by domestic elections.
Well, Tobias Ellwood, I want to ask you that briefly before you go. Domestic election, when's your money on the election being, spring or autumn?
I think only a few people in number 10 will know that. I suspect that we're going to continue hoping that and working for the economy to improve. Therefore, the more time you have for that, it would make sense to have it later in the year rather than earlier. Inflation is starting to come down. We are seeing fiscal responsibility return to the country. You've spoken about Liz Truss's time. I think we're going to look forward to a very interesting budget by the Chancellor in March. And that needs to be given time as well to manifest itself, and for the country to see the clear choice between what the Conservatives offer and what the opposition offers.